Tonight, Victoria's COVID testing system buckling under a record surge in Omicron cases. 54 private laboratories forced to close for days. A price gouging crackdown as rapid antigen test supplies run out across the state. Victorians warned to expect meat shortages as COVID hits supermarket supplies. A 72-year-old exotic bird dealer badly injured in a savage home invasion. And the MCG hero Scott Boland gets another shot at Ashes glory.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Mike Amor starts now.
Good evening. Victoria's COVID testing system is buckling under a record surge of Omicron cases, with every private clinic in the state forced to close. The shutdown will push result wait times out even further, and a shortage of rapid tests is putting even more strain on hospitals and supermarkets.
The last thing the government wanted. Queues for PCR tests growing even longer.
Well, I think we are out of control. I mean, the cases are doubling very frequently.
206 state testing centres will remain open, but pressure on them grows even greater because 54 private testing sites have closed to allow labs to try to catch up.
Their labs continue to work 24/7 to deal with the backlog that they've accumulated over the Christmas and New Year period.
Little comfort for some Victorians waiting up to 6 days for results. And when they call the hotline to ask about the progress of their test,
due to a high volume of calls, we are currently unable to take your call. Please try again later.
So if you're waiting for your results on day 2 or day 3 or day 4 or day 5, I'm afraid I'm going to ask you to continue to be patient.
Victoria is in a state of chaos at present. For weeks, our testing sites have been under enormous pressure, and today they've snapped.
Delays so frustrating, healthcare staff are copping abuse. Some doctors have employed security guards with this warning.
We will have the police and we will press charges. It's not acceptable to behave in that way to anybody.
All this on a day when new cases climbed over 14,000, almost 5,500 above yesterday's record.
Omicron is sweeping through our community now in a way that we have not seen in the last 2 years.
Sadly, there were 2 deaths. Hospital admissions up marginally to 516. ICU admissions remain stable. Still, health workers are on edge.
All of our staff are obviously still very exhausted. We are getting exposed ourselves, or, whether that's at work or out socially, it's definitely taking a toll.
Everybody in the health system is absolutely stressed to the eyeballs.
The Nurses Union concerned too about aged care facilities.
More than 150 private aged care facilities where the residents have not had their 3rd vaccination dose. And that is really concerning.
And as the shortage of rapid antigen tests in Victoria becomes critical, there's political infighting as to who is to blame. Queues at a rare pharmacy where some rapid tests are actually available. The Andrews government scoffs at the Prime Minister's offer to cut GST to reduce prices to customers.
It's a secondary issue that's been put out there by the federal government in absence of national leadership on the actual main issue with rapid antigen tests, and that is the supply.
The consumer watchdog ACCC today confirmed it's investigating cases of price gouging.
We're pointing out that we have the ability to name and shame people if they are doing the wrong thing.
The state government will not rule out tougher restrictions, and a growing list of experts is calling for immediate measures such as density limits at the Australian Open and working from home rules.
I think we should be looking at all of these things now because the case numbers are likely to continue to increase and the hospitalisations will follow that. And so we are heading for a significant crisis.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
And there are limited options if you need to get tested tonight. Estelle Greepink is at the showgrounds, and Estelle, the site's been forced to close.
Yes, Mike, that's right. Here at the showgrounds, they were supposed to close at 7 o'clock tonight, but they've had to start refusing new cars from 4:30 this afternoon. They're hoping to get through all the cars behind me in the next hour. It was a similar story at the Monash University Clayton testing site. They had to turn people away there too after they saw massive queues build up there at around 4:30 this afternoon. The demand for tests is so strong right across Melbourne that people are now waiting hours upon hours to go and get tested, and they're waiting even longer to get those results back. It means our COVID commander has now revised his advice for isolating. He now says that if you have a positive test result from a rapid test and you can't go and get a PCR, you should be isolating anyway for 7 days. Mike?
Estelle Greeping, thank you. Our hospitals are facing what doctors describe as a perfect storm that's wreaking havoc on emergency departments. We're joined now by emergency physician Dr. Stephen Parnas. Thanks for your time, Doctor. It's not just COVID cases putting the system under pressure.
Mike, hospital emergencies and inpatient wards operate at or near capacity at the best of times. The fact is we've got an unprecedented number of COVID positive cases, and even a small proportion of those will put enormous pressure on our emergency departments and wards at the moment.
Doctor, just how long are you expecting this wave to go on for?
This will go on for many weeks, I think. Sydney is a good guide. I think we're a week or two behind them. The first sign of improvement will be as we see overall case numbers peak. But we've got a long road ahead of us, I think.
Yeah, you're at the coalface. What's your message to Victorians tonight?
I think the principal message is be patient with the people who are providing vaccinations, selling RAT tests, doing testing in public centres, or seeing you in general practice or emergency. The vast majority of people who get infected will get through this with a few days of rest, fluids and paracetamol. We'll get through this just as we have through all the other waves, so there's no need for panic.
Yeah, Dr. Stephen Parnas, thanks for all that you and your colleagues are doing.
Thanks, Mike.
Long queues have returned to vaccination clinics as 1 million Victorians became eligible to get booster shots early. GPs and pharmacists are struggling to keep up with demand under the new timeline, and shots for young children are still on hold.
Hundreds of people were waiting, ready to get boosted, as major vaccination hubs reopened after a Christmas shutdown.
I started out at the end of the line, right over there, and wound right around this long line here.
The demand surged thanks to a shorter wait between second and third doses, now 4 months.
As of today, we know around another 1 million Victorians are eligible for their third dose, and that number will increase when the 3-month change comes into effect.
Just 11% of Victorians over 12 have had their third dose. But long queues around the city proved the booster demand is high.
I'm immune compromised, so for reassurance, basically.
Get it out of the way, get it done, and not have to worry about it.
Most waited patiently, but others gave up. Even some with bookings found the wait just too long.
Yeah, I'll just rebook. I'll come back another day.
Pharmacies and GP clinics have also been inundated.
What we've found is that now that we are putting our appointments online and making more appointments available, they're filling up as soon as we put them online.
If you can't get an appointment quickly, walk-ins are now available at some of the estate hubs, like here at the Royal Exhibition Building. But if you don't want to wait in queues like this one, try your local pharmacy, because many of those are offering walk-ins too.
The queues will grow again on Monday as children aged 5 to 11 become eligible. Parents are having to wait to book because of an IT glitch.
The clinics will be open on Monday to start that vaccination program, and I know the GPs and pharmacies who are part of the rollout of the 5 to 11-year-old program are also ready to start on Monday.
But some pharmacies are running out of vaccine supplies. Fewer trucks on the road over Christmas has led to fewer deliveries.
They're running short of Pfizer more quickly than Moderna. With Moderna, the boosted dose is half that of the usual primary dose. What that means is we are able to get double the number of booster doses per vial.
So in some cases, booking a Moderna jab may enable you to get in quicker.
The best booster dose that you can get is the one you can get today, whether it's Pfizer or Moderna. And the best place to get it is where you can get it as soon as possible.
Christy Cooper, 7 News.
Australia has passed a grim milestone in the pandemic. We've now had 500,000 COVID cases. In New South Wales, there were over 23,000 new cases today. Queensland experienced a big jump up to almost 5,700, while infections soared past 3,000 for the first time in South Australia. There are more than 700 new infections in Tasmania, 900 in Canberra and 75 in the Northern Territory. Victorians are being warned we could be in for meat shortages within weeks because of exploding Omicron cases are crippling workforces. Major supermarkets are among the hardest hit and small businesses are being forced to close.
Just 4 days into the new year, more than 50,000 Victorians are in isolation.
This is an emergency.
Omicron is wreaking havoc on the state's workforce.
The biggest impact business is facing right now with the spread is the lack of availability of staff.
Major supermarkets are feeling the strain, with staff isolating. Coles is working hard to replenish shelves as quickly as possible. Woolworths says it's been hit with delays with stock deliveries due to COVID-related impacts. They're reassuring customers the supply is there and the team and suppliers are doing all they can to replenish stores.
COVID absenteeism is going to affect the consumer. In one way or another, we're going to see some increased costs as a result of this.
We're also being warned of possible stock shortages, including meat.
Potentially it could be as short as in 2 weeks' time. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of staff up and down the eastern seaboard who aren't able to get to work at this stage.
We need to see an increase in the availability of rapid test and a decrease in the amount of time that a PCR result is taking to come back.
Short-staffed businesses across Melbourne have taken to social media to apologise to customers for having to close. Others admitting they'll be limping through the week. Not even Melbourne Pets are immune to the worker shortfall.
They're all using the terminology COVID absenteeism because what it does mean is that they have to take that into account.
Periodically we had stuff in isolation and come out, and other stuff going to isolation they come out.
Rice Paper Scissors closing its Fitzroy store today.
We've got a bunch of staff in isolation across all of the venues. At the moment, this one here is the one that's open today. So we've pulled in a few people from everywhere, and it is definitely day by day.
With case numbers rising, any hope workers would return to city offices next week appears dashed. Indoor mask rules also set to keep staff at home.
I think the most dominant issue at the moment is the spread of the virus across the community and workplaces not wanting to see all of their workforce go out.
The office buildings around here, they're our lifeblood.
But as businesses try to keep their head above water,
I think if they were back this week, we'd struggle a lot more.
COVID's causing a problem, whether it is in COVID absenteeism or just not enough work is being made available. Across the board, it's going to have a long-term complication for us.
Hope Wilson, 7 News.
An exotic bird dealer has been bashed during a home invasion in Melbourne's north. The 72-year-old is in hospital while his 3 attackers remain on the run.
At least 3 people smashed their way into the Dallas property at 2:30 this morning. A 72-year-old man was home alone and bashed.
He's a good man. He's a really good neighbor. This makes me really scared and upset because my next door there could be happening to me too.
7 News understands it may have been a planned attack. The victim is well known for selling exotic birds.
He's had a lot of problems in the past. I guess probably when he's dealing with people there'd be issues.
The home invasion leaving neighbours shaken.
I don't think some safety.
It was a disgusting act because I don't know the person who did this. How can he do something with the old person? It's below the human standards.
Police were on scene for hours today, compiling evidence and interviewing neighbours to help find the intruders. It's the second time the man has been assaulted. Neighbours say there was a similar attack around 5 years ago and they helped nurse him back to health.
He got jumped by, I think, 2 people. After he got jumped, he came to my house and he was bleeding.
The elderly man is in Royal Melbourne Hospital with serious injuries. Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
A car has been split in 2 after crashing into a pole in Melbourne's northwest. The sedan was cut in half and the pole ripped out of the ground at Kielba. 3 men were in the car. The driver and a passenger are in a critical condition in the Royal Melbourne. The 3rd man has serious injuries. Emergency workers had to close the road as investigations began into why the car crashed. A New York court has unsealed a document Prince Andrew hopes will end the sexual abuse lawsuit against him. The once secret papers show his accuser, Virginia Giuffre, settled an earlier claim against pedophile Jeffrey Epstein that included money and strings attached.
A legal document hidden for 12 years now bursts into the middle of one of the world's most watched court fights. Prince Andrew denies claims from Australian Virginia Giuffre he sexually abused her when she was just 17. In 2009, she was in another legal fight against the man she claimed not only abused but trafficked her for sex, convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Released today, their settlement. Epstein paying $500,000, about 700,000 Australian. Virginia Giuffre agreeing to release, acquit, satisfy and forever discharge from any legal action Jeffrey Epstein and any other person or entity who could have been included as a potential defendant.
And now we know that it covers any and all potential defendants who were involved in that Florida lawsuit. And the question is, was Prince Andrew one of them?
His lawyers are set to argue in a video appearance before a New York judge tomorrow that old deal slams the door on the case launched last August against their client.
Virginia Giuffre's attorneys are going to say that it is an entirely irrelevant clause, this 2009 agreement, that doesn't refer to Prince Andrew by name at all.
For the Prince, the 2009 agreement could yet be a double-edged sword, stopping the legal action against him, but also highlighting his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. In the United States, Tim Lester, 7 News.
This weekend's Pier to Pub Swim Classic in Lorne is the latest event to fall victim to COVID. Organisers have pulled the pin because too many volunteers have been struck down by the virus. The swim will move to a virtual event with competitors asked to post their individual times online before the end of June. What a pity. Laura Spurway is here for a look ahead to sport, and Laura, the hero of the Boxing Day test, lives to fight another day.
He does, Mike. Scott Boland won't just be a one-test wonder, with the Aussies settling on their pace attack for the SCG. Naomi Osaka hits the court for the first time in months. And Mike, a blow for Nick Kyrgios in the lead up to the Oz Open. We'll have more on that shortly.
OK, see you soon. Thanks, Laura. An explosive house fire has claimed the life of an elderly man in Ringwood despite the heroic efforts of neighbours to save him. Details next on 7 News. Plus a turn in Melbourne's booming property market, the expert predictions for 2022. A disgraced billionaire found guilty of fraud over the invention that was supposed to revolutionise medicine. And later, rapid antigen tests explain everything you need to know. An elderly man has been killed in a house fire at Ringwood. It's understood neighbours tried to help the man escape but couldn't reach him in time. Police are not treating the blaze as suspicious. There are signs tonight that Melbourne's red-hot property market might be about to cool down. House prices dipped during December, giving fresh hope to first home buyers struggling to catch a break.
A rush to sell has taken the heat out of the market.
And we're sold! Congratulations!
Prices dipping for the first time since October 2020.
We came out of lockdown in early November and it was like a race. Everybody wanted to put their properties on the market.
A record number of homes going under the hammer before Christmas.
Over the month of December, we saw that 27,000 properties were available for sale across Melbourne. That's about 8% above the 5-year average.
New figures show the cost of Melbourne homes fell 0.2% last month, the median price just shy of $1 million across the suburbs. Yet prices are still higher than a year ago, almost 18%.
For someone like myself who's getting into the market by myself with just my kids, it's really difficult because I'm going to have to renovate and get it to the standard. That's a lot of money. House hunter Siobhan Claveria says it's hardly making a dent in outer eastern suburbs like Ringwood and Croydon. They're way over $1 million. First home buyers, they're the people I'm seeing at these houses as well. And we're all fighting against each other and it's really difficult. It's a beautiful area. Property experts are advising anyone struggling to break into the market to consider buying an inner city apartment, with prices falling up to 20% during the pandemic.
We've seen a flea of overseas buyers, so they're not around. So if you're looking to buy something off the plan, there'll be plenty of discounts available from developers, I would have thought, at the moment to move stock.
A silver lining for all in 2022.
I expect things to return to a more normalised rate of growth for properties, probably around that 3 to 4% over the longer term. And I think we'll have a more even playing field between buyers and sellers.
Ashley Kanowski, 7 News.
Australia's High Commissioner to the UK, George Brandis, has been caught up in an embarrassing diplomatic incident in Glasgow. It's understood Mr Brandis was running late and attempted to join Prime Minister Scott Morrison's motorcade during the climate summit in November. 2 British police cars took off in pursuit, believing the car was a threat. But once they realised the car had diplomatic plates, they hit the brakes, crashing into each other. No one was injured, but the Foreign Affairs Department is investigating. An American biotech billionaire is facing decades behind bars after being convicted of fraud and conspiracy charges. Elizabeth Holmes was considered the golden girl of Silicon Valley, but for years she was scamming investors over a product that didn't work.
Elizabeth Holmes once chased the limelight.
Do you have anything you want to say?
She didn't today, unlike the years she spent spruiking her company Theranos and its blood testing device.
So this is the little tubes that we collect the samples in. We call them the nanotainer.
She claimed her machine would revolutionise healthcare by detecting a range of diseases with a few drops of blood from a single finger prick.
More people will have access to their own health information.
High-profile investors bought into the promise. Media mogul Rupert Murdoch poured more than $170 million into the Silicon Valley startup.
Talk about being inspired. This is inspiration, man.
But Elizabeth Holmes was not inspirational. She was a scammer and is now a convicted criminal, found guilty of 4 out of 11 counts of conspiracy and fraud.
Anything that happens in this company is my responsibility at the end of the day, and I hold myself responsible for that.
After a 3-month trial, so did a jury.
The guilty verdicts in this case reflect Ms. Holmes' culpability in this large-scale investor fraud.
A spectacular fall from grace for the woman once lauded the world's youngest female self-made billionaire. Robert Evadia, 7 News.
Sonia Marinelli joins us now with a look at the changing weather. And Sonia, we're preparing for a deluge.
Mike, the big question is, are we ready for this big change? It's been a while since we've had a run of really wet days, but bursts of humid showers arrive tomorrow. Tropical moisture will feed into a low pressure trough as it deepens over the state. That's going to create a mass of unstable air above us. And along with widespread showers, it could produce some potentially dangerous storm cells. Severe storms are possible for the area in yellow, but are likely for the area in red. And while storms are generally hit and miss, if they do spark up, we're expecting heavy rain, damaging wind and large hail. I'll have the details after sport, Mike.
Oh dear. Thanks, Son. A Victorian charged over the old Parliament House fire has run into more trouble. Details next. Plus, holiday backlash. Angry travellers take legal action over the COVID test that left them stranded. Plus, why Donald Trump and his children are facing a fight to stay out of court. And how a sharp-eyed fan saved the life of an ice hockey star. The Victorian charged over the fire that damaged Old Parliament House has been released on bail, only to run into more trouble within minutes. The man is part of a group that claims laws don't apply to them.
2 days after he was arrested for allegedly setting fire to the front of Old Parliament House, the suspected arsonist is released on bail.
Happy to be out.
But just minutes after leaving jail, the 30-year-old was arrested again.
He just got out. Come on, come on.
Accused of breaching his bail conditions by re-entering the Canberra suburb of Parkes, not far from Old Parliament.
We're here to grab his belongings and then he's on his way.
Originally taken into custody on Sunday, police say the Victorian man repeatedly carried hot coals from a smoking ceremony fire in the car park up the steps to the front doors, stoking the blaze, helping it spread. His name suppressed to protect him from retribution. He's part of the Sovereign Citizen Movement, a group that believes the government is illegitimate and laws don't apply to them.
We've taken a stand to now assert our sovereignty and challenge the jurisdiction of the Australian corporation.
Several supporters moving from the lawns of Old Parliament to the ACT Magistrates Court. as another of their members, arrested for trespass, also walked free on bail.
Australian Capital Territory Police, the AFP, the Australian Government, the Commonwealth, all of it. It's all a fiction and it doesn't belong on this land.
His freedom short-lived. The alleged arsonist will now spend another night in custody before facing the magistrate again tomorrow, who may not be as ready to grant him bail a second time. Rob Scott, 7 News.
Furious travellers have launched a national class action case claiming their Christmas was ruined by a COVID testing bungle. They say they were left stranded after being denied legally required test results.
It was the holiday promise that turned into a nightmare.
Now we're in limbo. It's a huge problem.
It's not fair. Passengers turned away Christmas Eve after paying for pre-flight PCR tests. Now they're threatening a class action.
To obtain some compensation for those who have lost money and possibly have had a psychological injury as well.
The domestic flyers told the test was only for international travellers.
It looks like we're not going to be able to fly.
Hundreds at airports in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane were left stranded and waiting for refunds.
The company involved, to our understanding, has not come forward and made any apology or offer of remuneration to those impacted.
Histopath wasn't talking today, but the consumer watchdog says a refund is the least they should expect.
It's up to them if they want to take further action themselves, because they obviously may have suffered.
They had done the responsible thing and booked for their testing.
After missing flights and family holidays, the next hurdle for victims could be the length of the class action. While hoping to start as soon as possible, lawyers admit it could take up to 12 months.
If it's a fairly simple case, then the hope would be that we'd be able to resolve it quicker than that.
Angelique Opie, 7 News.
Donald Trump and 2 of his children are fighting subpoenas. Ivanka Trump, Donald Trump Jr. and the former president have been asked to give evidence into whether their business manipulated the values of its properties. Lawyers for the family argue the New York Attorney General will then use those interviews to leverage a separate criminal investigation. A monster winter storm is wreaking havoc in the US. Drivers on one highway were left stranded for hours when snow forced a bridge to shut. This is Air Force One arriving in chaotic conditions, with the president emerging in a raging blizzard at DC's main airport. Alone, 84% of flights have been cancelled. The bad weather comes on top of COVID, creating crippling staff shortages for airlines, leaving thousands stranded. Apple has become the first publicly traded company worth more than $3 trillion. After starting in a Californian garage in 1976, it took 42 years to be worth $1 trillion, and the tech company made the rest in the past 3 years. It's thought the next company to reach the exclusive club will be Microsoft. An eagle-eyed ice hockey fan has saved a team employee's life after spotting a suspicious mole on his neck during a game. The aspiring medical student used her phone to raise the alarm, warning the worker to get checked.
Oh, wow. Hi. Hello.
It was a reunion neither of them saw coming.
Yes,
Nadia Popovici and Brian Hamilton were complete strangers until a fateful interaction at an ice hockey match in Seattle in October last year.
Just seeing him walk by the plexiglass multiple times, my eyes were immediately drawn to the back of his neck.
So she held her phone up with this grim message.
It threw me off, so I kind of just shrugged and kept going.
But it was advice that saved his life. Brian got them all checked, which turned out to be a malignant melanoma.
The words out of the doctor's mouth were, if I ignored that for 4 to 5 years, I wouldn't be here.
And on New Year's Day, the pair promptly met.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
reaching out.
Well,
oh
thank
my gosh.
you.
22-year-old Popovici is about to enter medical school.
We already started, apparently.
I guess.
And was given a $10,000 scholarship for her studies.
Nadia's medical career's off to a good start as this story just keeps getting better.
For advice that turned out to be priceless.
Appreciate it more than you know. I will remember this day forever.
You and me both.
Matthew Carstunen, 7 News.
Up next, what you need to know before you take a rapid antigen test. They're hard to get, and many of us are making mistakes when it comes to using them. Plus, pop legend David Bowie's estate cashes in on his life's work. And from brew to shoe, the new sneakers made from your coffee leftovers, but it's not cheap. An estimated 2,000 swimming teachers are urgently needed in Victoria. Swim school businesses across the state have had to cancel lessons this week, with many staff in isolation and dozens leaving the industry entirely during lockdowns.
We need those lessons in place more than ever. Because of the closure of the industry. Children are going to go even longer without learning this important life skill.
Free training and travel vouchers are on offer to encourage more Victorians to take up the profession. Victorians have quickly learned that rapid tests are expensive, hard to find and hard to use. If you're lucky enough to find a packet, there's a warning: not all tests are created equal, and many are using the most popular swabs incorrectly.
They're the tests everyone wants to get their hands on, but many people aren't using them correctly.
We want to make every test count.
Ear, nose and throat surgeon Dr. Eric Levi says nasal swabs are of little use if you don't know what you're doing.
The nose is quite narrow at the roof, so if we were just aiming up in this direction, it's actually quite painful and uncomfortable. So if you imagine trying to aim around the back of the nose would probably be the better direction, and just twirling that for about 15 to 30 seconds to get as much mucosa sample as possible.
It's why some experts believe throat tests are producing more accurate results.
People know how to do a throat swab quite well because they brush their teeth and sometimes they gag, but actually swabbing the nose is actually quite challenging.
Other experts say throat swabs seem to be more suited to Omicron symptoms.
People are really reporting a lot of sore throats with Omicron. It seems that kind of actually swabbing the throat or doing a sputum test may be better than just doing the nasal test alone.
The TGA has approved 18 home tests, ranging from very high sensitivity to acceptable sensitivity. The most commonly available tests are 90% accurate. Ongoing shortages of the tests have led to a Victorian man creating a new online locator. The Find a Rat website reporting what suburbs have stock all around the country. That's as finder.com.au crunches the numbers to find the most affordable options.
We've seen testing kits for as little as $10 per pack, all the way up to about $60. If you're spending more than about $60 on a rapid test, you're really paying the upper end right now.
The boss of Chemist Warehouse is now calling on the federal government to axe the GST on rapid tests, making them more affordable for people struggling to pay for them.
We sell a pack of 5 of these for $50, which works out to be about $10 a test. That'd immediately make one of these boxes $45, which is significant.
Shelves are expected to be better stocked with rapid tests over the coming days. Estelle Grieping, 7 News.
David Bowie's entire songwriting catalogue has been sold in one hit. Classics like Space Oddity, Let's Dance and Heroes now belong to Warner Music in a deal believed to be worth close to $350 million. The deal gives Warner the rights to all his 26 studio albums, as well as one posthumous release. It comes just days before what would have been his 75th birthday. A Finland company is combining a love of coffee and fashion in a surprising way. It's using ground coffee waste to make waterproof sneakers, but sustainability doesn't come cheaply.
The emptying of used coffee granules, a step in the morning brew process. But a Finnish company has found there's no such thing as coffee waste and has decided to make shoes from it.
We actually took it and mixed it with recycled plastic pellets made from used water bottles. You know, the majority of the upper part of our shoes is made from those coffee polyester yarn.
The innovative coffee fibre fights odours and is antibacterial. Each pair is waterproof and made from around 150 grams of coffee granules and 6 plastic bottles. But sustainability isn't cheap. The base model sneaker costs around $165.
We want to be a brand where it's like, yeah, we make sustainable products, but they are cool.
They have really cool functions. People can actually use them.
Only 5% of the coffee waste in the world actually got recycled, and coffee waste is a bio waste, but it's actually produced like a lot of methane.
The company, which sources the coffee from cafes in Asia, is brewing up a new idea. T-shirts and sportswear, the next wardrobe essentials to be made from coffee. In London, Tegan Dolling, 7 News.
The uniform Australian athletes will wear at next month's Winter Olympics has just been unveiled. Sportscraft is decking the Aussies out while trying to keep them warm in the freezing conditions in Beijing. It's exactly 1 month until the opening ceremony, with the Winter Games exclusively live and free here on 7. Laura Spurway returns with sport. And Laura, Aussie selectors have made 2 big calls for the 4th test.
They have, Mike, and Scott Boland gets another chance at glory. The Boxing Day hero keeps his place. The skipper and an Aussie great have their say on the Ashes next. A blow for Nick Kyrgios will tell you why he's pulled out of Melbourne's event. And the AFLW bracing for a bumpy start to the new season. Welcome back. Boxing Day hero Scott Boland will get another shot at Ashes glory, with selectors keeping the faith with Victorian Quick for the 4th test starting tomorrow. Josh Hazlewood remains sidelined while Usman Khawaja is back after more than 2 years out.
Batting instead of bowling today, Scott Boland will be no one-test wonder.
I'm really glad he gets another crack out here.
Boland's Ashes ceiling 6 for 7 on Boxing Day, compelling numbers for his captain and a fellow bowling great.
Doubt it's going to be 6 for 7, but I did say last week, just nothing more than that, mate. We'll take last week, so don't try any harder.
They sort of earmarked him for Melbourne and for the SCG, so yeah, I think he'll do well.
Josh Hazlewood close, but not over that side strain. Usman Khawaja recalled for the COVID-affected Travis Head. Australia's top run scorer bound to be back for the final test.
Heady will be back in for Hobart.
England's only change, Stuart Broad, reunited with good mate and all-rounder Ben Stokes.
I hope I got a couple of caged tigers coming into this match.
The SCG ready for the pink test.
Nearly the opposite to COVID. COVID has pushed everyone apart. This is a way we can bring people together again.
But plenty of COVID reminders for spectators. Cummins feeling for the Poms decimated by the pandemic.
I think that they've sacrificed quite a lot to come over here.
The constant testing day in, day out is a distraction. And I'd like to think that we can find a better way around it going forward in the future.
COVID may be the game's latest threat, but cricket's oldest enemy, rain, is forecast here in the harbour city for day 1. Whether the weather can save England from a series whitewash, well, watch Channel 7's live and free coverage tomorrow. Andrew McKinlay, 7 News.
The Melbourne Stars remain hopeful their big guns will be out of COVID isolation and be able to travel for Friday's clash with the Strikers in Adelaide. They missed them last night against the Renegades. With 12 players out from the squad, the Stars posted just 126, but did manage this incredible fielding effort from Harris Ralph.
Oh, Harris Ralph! You genius! He looked in terrible trouble, but with quick thinking, he's pulled off the spectacular. In the team.
Aaron Finch's half-century guided the Gades to a comfortable 5-wicket win, jumping above the Stars on the ladder. Nick Kyrgios' Australian Open preparations have taken a hit after he withdrew from the Melbourne Somerset because of asthma concerns, leaving him with just one lead-up event before the Slam. Naomi Osaka got a scare in her first match in 4 months, dropping the second set against Frenchwoman Elise Cornet before wrapping it up 6-3 in the third.
That'll do it.
Hopefully you guys also come back for the Australian Open, but it feels really nice to play in front of people.
World number 4 Stefanos Tsitsipas is in doubt for the Australian Open, hampered by an elbow injury in his loss to Diego Schwartzman in the ATP Cup. Demons AFLW captain Daisy Pearce is determined to replicate the success of the men when the season kicks off this weekend. With COVID expected to rule players out at some point, the champion says there will be times when it's unfair for clubs to keep playing.
In today's COVID world, the captain's call went virtual amid exploding case numbers.
We are committed to deliver this season and we'll find a way to deliver it.
Just a month ago, the league launched their fixtures with optimism. Now it's preparing to proceed in unprecedented circumstances.
Yeah, it is a bit of a period where you try your best to, still enjoy yourself and enjoy family time and get away, but just be really smart with your choices.
Contingency plans are in place, including postponing matches, but only if a minimum 21 players aren't available for a side.
There will be weeks where it's unfair on one team more than another, depending on which players are missing, but it doesn't serve you very well to approach the season in that way.
A different world to the men's comp.
But I guess there are greater exposure risks because we do have careers outside of football and probably don't have the opportunity to bunker down in team bubble scenarios.
Daisy Pearce has an eye on the premiership following the success of the D's last year.
It's certainly been exciting and we've been able to take a lot of their learnings and try and apply them in our program.
This time she'll have old friend and teammate Taylor Harris by her side, a formidable pairing up front.
Can't wait to get on the end of a goal or help set them up.
Round 1 kicks off this Friday night between St Kilda and Richmond.
Manchester United continues to set unwanted records in the Premier League. Cristiano Ronaldo was handed the captain's armband and a goal disallowed for offside against Wolverhampton. It proved costly. United beaten by Wolves at Old Trafford for the first time in 42 years.
Michel Moutinho, 1-0 Wolves. The veteran.
The Red Devils remain 7th on the table. And Mike, looking forward to the Ashes back on the box tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we all need a break from COVID. Hopefully it won't affect the test.
Hopefully.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Sonia is next with the forecast. And Sonia, what are we expecting tomorrow?
Well, Mike, bursts of heavy showers and potentially severe thunderstorms as our weather turns tropical. I'll have the details next.
Rebecca Madden comes home. Back to 7 News. Join Rebecca Madden with Mike Amor on 7 News, Wednesday at 6.
Good evening. As we prepare for a big change in the weather, grey skies today blanketing the city as the mercury climbed to 23 degrees, a few below the January average. In fact, that thick cloud and a cool breeze worked together to stop the temperature from rising. And around Melbourne and Geelong, there were light drizzly showers throughout the day. Further out, we had some passing showers through southern Victoria, but not much for the gauges, while thunderstorms developed again over the far eastern ranges. But with that cloud banking up against the ranges, it stayed sunny for those in the north. Ex-tropical cyclone Seth may be weakening, but from tomorrow it is going to feed tropical moisture into a low-pressure trough as it deepens over Victoria. So with unstable air lingering over the state, we are in for a few days of heavy showers and potentially severe widespread thunderstorm activity. In fact, tomorrow is going to be a very active weather day right down the east coast, with the potential for heavy rain and thunderstorms in Brisbane, Sydney and also in Canberra. Just some lighter showers for those in Hobart. But here in Victoria, the humidity will start building tomorrow, even in the south where temperatures will stay below average. There'll be scattered showers across southern and eastern Victoria with the potential for locally heavy falls, and will be under a moderate to fresh southeasterly, strong at times about the coast. And of course, the risk of severe storms, they are likely to develop across central Victoria, bringing the risk of damaging wind, large hail and heavy rain, which could lead to flash flooding. Closer in, and grey skies will be with us for most of the day. These heavy showers too, and the risk of severe thunderstorms. The humidity will build as the temperature climbs into the mid-20s. So our weather likely to turn stormy tomorrow. 20 to 30 millimetres is forecast to fall here in the city. A humid top of 26 degrees tempered by a cool breeze. After that, another 2 humid, wet and stormy days before it starts to ease by the weekend. We're expecting lighter showers on Saturday and a top of 21 degrees. Drying out by Sunday, 24 degrees under lovely sunny breaks, and we are staying dry on Monday and Tuesday. But tomorrow is a big day for the weather. It is turning muggy and potentially stormy here in the city as we head for a top of 26 degrees. So a big weather shake-up is coming our way, Mike, I must say.
You mentioned the word active. That's the weather word of the week.
Very active. Lots of thunderstorms across the state tomorrow. If you're caught out there, do take care, potentially with the large hail and the strong winds as well.
Yeah, muggy. Get that morning walk out of the way early.
Very tropical, very like Queensland.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Now let's see what's on Sunrise in the morning.
Thanks, Mike. Tomorrow on Sunrise, a new year, a new you. Don't miss the keys to weight loss success.
3 simple steps to make sure your hard work pays off. See you in the morning, Melbourne.
And that's 7 News for now. From the team, have a great night.